The containment doors opened. The predator roared loud enough to rattle the arena glass. Alien weapons came up instantly. The human stepped forward and reached for a stethoscope. The sound filled the chamber like a physical force, a pressure that pressed against the chest and made the air vibrate. The arena had been carved deep into the station's core, wrapped in layers of reinforcement designed to survive catastrophic failure, yet the roar still set warning lights pulsing along the blast shields. The transparent barrier between the floor and the observation galleries shimmered as energy fields thickened in response. At the center of the arena, the Araxian cleaver beast hauled against its restraints. It was enormous, larger than most ground vehicles used by the Coalition, its body encased in overlapping armor plates that looked grown rather than manufactured. Each plate bore scars and stress fractures, evidence of past violence and containment alike. Thick restraint chains anchored the creature at 4 points, each link threaded with suppression fields that hummed loudly as the beast strained forward. The sound of metal under stress echoed through the chamber, sharp and unsettling. Alien officers lining the gallery stiffened, claws tightening on weapon grips, as targeting systems locked onto the arena floor. Several flinched despite themselves when the predator slammed forward again, its weight crashing against the restraints hard enough to make the deck shudder. From a raised platform overlooking the arena, the Coalition speaker extended one upper limb in a broad, deliberate gesture. "Observe," he announced, his voice amplified and translated into a dozen languages at once. "This organism represents the final answer to resistance." Another roar tore from the predator's throat, louder than the last, raw and uneven. Saliva sprayed against the energy field. Its head swung from side to side, as if searching for something to destroy. "This creature has erased entire settlements," the speaker continued. "Fortifications failed, evacuation failed, diplomacy failed. Where it was deployed, opposition ended." Murmurs of approval rippled through the alien ranks. To them, the meaning was clear. Power proven through fear. Control demonstrated through suffering. The human delegation stood apart, clustered behind a secondary barrier closer to the arena floor. They carried no visible weapons, no armor, no ceremonial markings. Observers, not challengers. Their presence had been tolerated as a formality, a concession to interspecies protocol rather than a gesture of trust. Dr. Maya Chen stood near the front. She did not react to the roar. She did not watch the chains or the weapons. Her eyes were fixed on the predator's chest. She noticed the asymmetry first. One side of the chest expanded a fraction of a second later than the other. She noticed the hitch between breaths, the way each inhale seemed to catch before forcing its way in. The claws, hooked and lethal, twitched erratically against the arena floor, not in coordinated strikes, but in uneven spasms. Her scanner hummed softly in her hand as she activated it, running it along the transparent barrier. The readouts flickered, struggling to interpret unfamiliar biology, but the trends were unmistakable. Stress indicators were extreme. The predator reared again, slamming its armored forelimbs against the restraints. Alarms chimed as sedation levels dipped further. The Coalition speaker let out a sound of approval. "You see," he said, "even bound, it seeks destruction." Maya frowned. "That's not aggression," she murmured. The human ambassador beside her shifted uneasily. "Doctor," he said under his breath, "remember our role here." Maya barely heard him. She leaned closer to the barrier, eyes narrowing as she focused on a dark discoloration beneath one of the armor seams near the creature's shoulder. The patch pulsed faintly with each labored breath, the tissue beneath visibly inflamed. She straightened and raised her voice. "How long has it been restrained like this?" The question cut through the chamber more sharply than any alarm. For a moment, there was silence. Then laughter broke out across the Coalition gallery, sharp and dismissive. "How long?" the speaker repeated. "Time is irrelevant. It is contained." Maya did not smile. "Has it been under continuous sedation?" she asked. "Has it been allowed to rest?" The laughter faded, replaced by irritation. "These details are inconsequential," the speaker replied. "It is a weapon." Maya lowered her scanner slowly. "It's a living organism," she said, "and you're pushing it past physiological limits." The predator lurched forward again, then faltered. One massive limb buckled slightly before it caught itself against the restraint. The movement sent a visible tremor through its frame. Several alien officers exchanged glances. Maya turned to the ambassador. "I need to go in." His eyes widened. "Absolutely not. It's in medical distress," she said. "Severe distress." The coalition speaker's tone hardened. "No human will enter the containment arena. That would be a termination, not a treatment." Maya nodded once, as if confirming something internally. She slung her medkit fully onto her shoulder and stepped toward the access gate. Weapons snapped toward her instantly. Targeting lights crawled across her chest and arms. The rising whine of charged energy filled the air. The predator sensed the shift and surged again, chains screaming as they absorbed the force. Its roar cracked and broke at the end, dissolving into a ragged sound that set Maya's teeth on edge. "You will be killed," the speaker said flatly. "This demonstration will not pause for human recklessness." Maya took a slow breath. She kept her hands visible, her movements controlled. "Animals read intent," she said calmly. "Right now, all it senses is threat." The access gate hissed open. Heat rolled out of the arena, thick and metallic. Maya stepped through as the gate sealed behind her, the sound final and heavy. Every weapon remained trained on her. She did not walk straight toward the predator. She angled her body slightly, presenting a smaller profile. Her gaze stayed low, unfocused, and she spoke softly, not to communicate meaning but tone. Years of emergency clinics and field rescues guided every step. The predator reared. Then it stopped. Its breathing hitched violently. One claw scraped weakly against the floor. The tremor running through its limbs intensified, spreading through its torso. Maya dropped to one knee, careful not to rush. She raised her scanner and swept it across the exposed armor seam. The readout spiked. "Systemic infection," she said aloud. "Organ stress. Severe." The predator collapsed. Its massive body struck the arena floor with a thunderous impact that silenced the chamber. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then alarms erupted. "Fire!" someone shouted. "Hold," another voice countered. Maya was already at the creature's side, pressing her stethoscope against the warm seam of living armor, listening past the noise to the frantic rhythm beneath. "This isn't aggression," she said clearly. "This is pain." High above, the coalition speaker stared down at the fallen predator, at the human kneeling beside it, and for the first time, certainty wavered. For several long seconds after the predator collapsed, the arena existed in a suspended state where no one seemed willing to make the first move. The massive body lay on its side, armored plates scraping faintly against the floor as its chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven pulls. Each breath sounded wet, strained, wrong. The chains, designed to restrain fury, now looked grotesque around a creature that was no longer fighting. Every weapon in the chamber remained trained on Dr. Maya Chen. "Step away from the organism," the coalition speaker ordered. His voice echoed through the arena, sharper now, edged with something close to alarm. "You have interfered enough. Withdraw immediately." Maya did not look up. She had pressed her stethoscope firmly against a seam between armor plates, angling it carefully to avoid causing pain. The rhythm beneath was chaotic, skipping, surging, then faltering again. Her jaw tightened. "This is not a demonstration failure," she said evenly. "This is a medical emergency." Targeting lights crawled across her shoulders as a guard adjusted aim. "You are interfering with coalition assets," the speaker snapped. Maya lifted her head slowly and met his gaze through the transparent barrier. "You don't own biology," she said. "And if you fire right now, you'll kill it within seconds." The predator shuddered, a deep, involuntary tremor that rolled through its entire frame. A low sound escaped its throat, not the deafening roar from before, but something fractured and raw, a sound the translators failed to classify. Several alien officers stiffened. Maya reached into her medkit and withdrew a handheld scanner, its surface already smeared with condensation from the arena's heat. She swept it along the creature's flank. The display flickered as unfamiliar biological systems flooded the sensor, but the warnings were unmistakable. Extreme systemic stress, multi-organ strain, immune response and collapse. "This organism is septic," she said clearly, "triggered by prolonged stress, restraint, and sensory overload." "That is impossible," an alien medical officer said from behind the barrier. He leaned forward, eyes wide, frill flared in agitation. It is an apex predator. It thrives under pressure. Nothing thrives without recovery, Maya replied. Pressure without relief destroys tissue. You turned its own immune system against it. See? The predator's breathing hitched again. Its massive chest rose, stalled, then dropped sharply. The pause between breaths stretched too long. A ripple of unease passed through the gallery. Lower weapons, the coalition speaker ordered abruptly. Maintain targeting. The whine of charged energy softened, though the lights remained fixed on Maya. She took that as permission enough. She knelt closer to the creature's head, careful to stay within its line of sight. Her movements were slow, deliberate. Her posture relaxed despite the tension coiled through her body. She placed one hand flat against the warm armor near its neck. The surface was feverish. It's okay, she said softly. You're not being attacked. One large eye cracked open, glossy and unfocused. It tracked her movement sluggishly, then stilled when she stopped advancing. The trembling eased slightly. Maya adjusted her position and drew a stabilizing injector from her kit. I'm going to help you breathe, she murmured, narrating each step in a calm, steady tone. This may sting. She administered the injection, a broad-spectrum anti-inflammatory compound paired with circulatory support. It was designed for unknown physiology, tested across dozens of species. Not perfect, but safe. The predator reacted instantly. Its heart rate spiked. The muscles along its flank tensed hard enough to make the armor creak. Alarms flared across the arena. Several coalition officers surged forward. She's killing it, someone shouted. Hold position, the speaker snapped, though uncertainty threaded his voice now. Maya leaned in closer, counting under her breath as she monitored the scanner. The spike plateaued. Then, slowly, the readings dipped. The predator's breathing changed. The harsh, uneven gasps softened into deeper pulls of air. The long pauses shortened. The chest began to move with something approaching rhythm. That should not be happening, the alien medical officer whispered. It should, Maya replied without looking up. You just never allowed it. She followed with fluids, careful to pace delivery to avoid shock. Sweat trickled down her spine as she worked, her focus absolute. The predator shifted weakly, one forelimb dragging across the floor with a scraping sound. Instead of retreating, Maya adjusted her position, keeping herself clear while maintaining proximity. She did not break eye contact. Easy, she said. I know it hurts. The creature's movement slowed. Its head sank back against the floor with a heavy thud. The tremor in its limbs faded to a faint quiver. The scanner chimed softly, core temperature decreasing, heart rhythm stabilizing. Silence swept the gallery. Weapons lowered fully, one by one, until none remained trained on Maya. This outcome is unprecedented, the medical officer said. He stepped closer to the barrier, staring at the data. Infection markers are dropping. The coalition speaker said nothing. His gaze remained fixed on the arena floor, on the human kneeling beside the creature he had called a weapon minutes earlier. Maya continued working, checking circulation and adjusting restraint tension where she could reach safely. These chains are cutting off blood flow, she said. You're worsening the damage. They are necessary, the speaker replied automatically. They're lethal, she countered. A long pause followed. Reduce restraint tension by 20%, the speaker ordered. The chains slackened with a heavy clank. The predator exhaled deeply, a sound that vibrated through the floor. Its massive body settled more fully into the deck, no longer braced against constant pain. Maya felt a gentle pressure against her forearm. She froze. Slowly, she looked down. The predator's head had shifted closer. One armored ridge brushed her sleeve, tentative, uncertain. The eye watching her blinked once, slowly. Gasps rippled through the gallery. That behavior is unrecorded, the medical officer said in disbelief. Maya allowed herself a small, tired smile. Pain makes monsters, she said quietly. Relief reveals what's underneath. She administered another measured dose, then sat back on her heels, monitoring the vitals. The crisis had passed, though recovery would be long. The predator lay still, breathing deeply, no longer roaring, no longer fighting. For the first time since the containment doors had opened, the arena did not feel like a battlefield. It felt like a hospital. High above, The coalition speaker realized something fundamental had shifted. The creature meant to terrify had become evidence. And the human kneeling beside it had changed the nature of the room without firing a single shot. The arena remained sealed. No alarms sounded now. No weapons hummed. The silence that filled the vast chamber was not the brittle quiet of fear, but something heavier, unsettled, as if the structure itself were waiting for instructions it had never been designed to receive. The Araxian cleaver beast slept. Its massive body lay stretched across the reinforced floor, chains loosened enough to prevent circulatory damage while still satisfying coalition safety protocols. Each breath lifted its armored chest in a slow, steady rhythm. The harsh rasp that had defined its presence earlier was gone, replaced by deep inhalations that resonated softly through the deck. Dr. Maya Chen sat a short distance from the creature's head, her back straight despite the ache settling into her muscles. She had positioned herself deliberately where the predator could see her when it woke, without needing to turn or strain. Her medkit lay open beside her, tools neatly arranged, several already used, and set aside for decontamination. Above her, the observation gallery was alive with movement. Coalition analysts crowded around data displays, pulling up streams that contradicted centuries of doctrine. Medical readouts scrolled beside historical records, behavioral models flickering and collapsing as real-time data refused to conform. "This does not align with threat projections," said senior analyst Korath, his voice tight with controlled disbelief. His frill was only half raised now, a sign of uncertainty among his species. The organism should be escalating, not stabilizing. The coalition speaker stood with his upper limbs clasped behind his back, gaze fixed on the live feed from the arena floor. He did not respond immediately. "Cross-reference containment durations with behavioral degradation," he said at last. The display shifted. Colony after colony appeared, each incident tagged with dates, deployment parameters, casualty counts. The Araxian cleaver beast featured prominently in the coalition's expansion history, its name synonymous with inevitable defeat. But when the analysts overlaid containment data, a new pattern emerged. Duration of restraint prior to deployment. Sedation cycles without interruption. Environmental stimulation kept deliberately high. Korath leaned closer. In every case, the organism was held under constant stress for extended periods before release. And aggression levels spiked correspondingly, another analyst added. Not immediately, gradually. As if degradation preceded violence, the coalition speaker's posture stiffened. "You are suggesting the organism was compromised before engagement." "I am suggesting," Korath said carefully, "that what we classified as inherent lethality may have been pathological behavior." A murmur rippled through the command staff. On the arena floor, Maya adjusted a sensor patch along the predator's flank, careful not to disturb it. The creature shifted slightly in its sleep, one claw flexing before relaxing again. She paused until it settled, then continued. She spoke quietly into her recorder. "Subject responding positively to reduced restraint, fluid support, and inflammatory control. Behavioral aggression appears directly correlated to unmanaged pain and chronic stress exposure." The predator's eye opened slowly, not fully, just enough to let light in. It focused on Maya, pupils contracting slightly as awareness returned. She did not move. She simply let it see her, breathing evenly, posture relaxed. "You're okay," she said softly. Still resting, the eye closed again. Up in the gallery, an alien security officer swallowed audibly. It acknowledged her presence. "That implies recognition," another replied. "That implies memory," a third added. The coalition speaker raised a limb for silence. "Focus." Medical teams were summoned, though they remained behind the barrier at first. Maya briefed them via the translator field, requesting specific equipment and adjustments. To her quiet surprise, they listened without interruption. "Lower ambient lighting," she said. "Reduce acoustic output. It's still hypersensitive." Orders were relayed. The arena lights dimmed incrementally. The constant mechanical hum softened. The predator's breathing deepened almost immediately. "That response latency is too short for coincidence," Korath said. "Environmental stressors are a primary variable." The coalition speaker turned sharply. "Then our containment protocols are flawed." "That conclusion follows the data," Korath replied. The word flawed carried weight. Coalition doctrine was not merely policy, it was identity, built on the belief that control was achieved through overwhelming force, reinforced by examples like the cleaver beast. On the arena floor, Maya shifted her weight carefully, stretching her legs one at a time to ease stiffness. She kept her movements slow, deliberate. The predator stirred, its head lifting slightly. Maya froze, then slowly knelt again, lowering herself to remain within its line of sight. The creature's eye opened fully this time, clearer, more focused. It studied her, not with hostility, but with wary attention. She placed one hand flat on the floor, palm down, a gesture of grounding rather than reach. "No one's hurting you," she said quietly. The predator's head lowered back to the floor. A long breath escaped it, steady and deep. A wave of stunned silence washed through the gallery. "That behavior has never been recorded," an officer whispered. "Because it has never been allowed," Korath said. The coalition speaker's gaze flicked to the historical records again. Early ecological surveys appeared, long buried beneath military reports. Juvenile behavior, social structures, cooperative interactions within limited groups. These assessments predate weaponization, Korath continued. They describe a territorial species, yes, but not an indiscriminate one. The speaker's jaw tightened. "We ignored them." On the arena floor, Maya finished another round of checks and sat back, exhaustion creeping in now that the immediate danger had passed. She wiped sweat from her brow and looked up toward the gallery. "You used pain as a control mechanism," she said, her voice carrying clearly. "Pain doesn't create obedience. It creates desperation." The coalition speaker met her gaze. For the first time, he did not interrupt. "You taught us fear ensured compliance," he said slowly. Maya shook her head. "Fear ensures escalation." The predator shifted again, lifting its head just enough to nudge the floor closer to Maya's knee. The contact was light, almost hesitant. She did not pull away. Gasps echoed through the gallery. "That indicates trust," someone said. "Or dependence," another countered. "Either way," Korath said quietly, "it contradicts weapon classification." The coalition speaker closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, the decision was visible in his posture. "Begin reclassification review," he ordered. The chamber went still. "Effective immediately," he continued. "Suspend all deployment orders for the Araxian cleaver beast. This session is no longer a demonstration. It is an inquiry." Shock rippled through the ranks. Reclassification was rare, suspension unprecedented. Medical access was granted. Alien medics entered the arena cautiously, following Maya's lead. She guided them through procedures, pointing out subtle indicators of improvement and lingering risk. To their credit, they followed her instructions precisely. As work continued, Maya remained where she was, a calm constant beside the predator. The creature slept again, deeply now, its massive frame finally at rest. Above them, doctrine cracked, not with violence, but with evidence. The coalition had built its authority on fear, and a human veterinarian had dismantled it by listening to a heartbeat. The Araxian cleaver beast slept through the first rotation cycle without incident. That fact alone unsettled the coalition more than any display of violence ever had. The arena no longer felt like a proving ground. The lights were dimmed to a gentle, even glow. Acoustic dampeners muted the station's background hum until only the slow rhythm of breathing filled the space. Medical monitors replaced targeting reticles on the observation screens, their soft pulses marking time instead of threat. Dr. Maya Chen remained inside the arena. She had been ordered to rest, escorted out, replaced by a rotation of coalition medical staff. She declined each offer politely and firmly. The creature had stabilized, but stability was not recovery, and unfamiliar hands introduced unnecessary variables. Eventually, after a brief and uncomfortable debate, the coalition speaker had agreed. She sat against a reinforced support column now, boots planted flat on the deck, posture relaxed but alert. Fatigue pulled at her muscles, but she ignored it. Her attention stayed on the massive form stretched across the floor. The predator shifted slightly, a slow adjustment rather than a spasm. One armored limb moved, claws curling inward instead of scraping outward. Its breathing remained deep and steady. Maya made a note. Above her, the coalition council chamber was in upheaval. Reclassification proceedings unfolded in real time, streamed directly to the observation gallery. Representatives from multiple systems argued, recalculated, and confronted data that refused to bend to expectation. The Araxian cleaver beast had been foundational to coalition deterrence strategy. Entire treaties had been signed under the shadow of its reputation. Now that shadow was dissolving. This organism cannot be treated as a weapon, Senior Analyst Korath said, his voice amplified across the chamber. Every data set we have gathered today contradicts that classification. A senior commander struck the floor with the end of his staff. Then what do you propose we call it? Korath did not hesitate. A patient, a territorial megafaunal species subjected to prolonged trauma. The word trauma rippled through the chamber. It was not one the coalition applied easily. Trauma implied responsibility. The coalition speaker listened without interruption. His gaze occasionally flicked to the live feed of the arena floor, to the human sitting quietly beside the creature that had once symbolized absolute dominance. Bring up the early contact records, he said. The chamber screens shifted again. Grainy survey footage appeared, captured long before the coalition had fully mapped the region. The cleaver beasts were fewer then, moving through rugged terrain in loose, cautious groups. They avoided settlements when possible. Aggression was documented primarily when territory was violated or offspring threatened. Why were these assessments discarded? The speaker asked. No one answered immediately. Finally, a junior archivist spoke. They conflicted with military projections. Silence followed. In the arena, the predator's eye opened slowly. Maya noticed immediately. She straightened slightly, making sure she was within its line of sight without looming. The eye focused on her, clearer than before. Awareness had returned. She spoke softly. Still here, she said. You're doing well. The creature did not roar. It did not pull at the chains. It watched her, unblinking, as if recalibrating its understanding of the environment. After a long moment, it exhaled and lowered its head back to the floor. The contact of sound vibrated through the deck, gentle and steady. One of the alien medics, standing near the barrier, let out a slow breath he had not realized he was holding. It recognizes her, he said quietly. It associates her with relief, another replied. That distinction matters, Maya said, without looking up. Relief is not dominance. The medics nodded, taking notes. Hours passed. The predator was given water through a modified delivery system, introduced slowly to avoid shock. Nutrient levels were adjusted. Inflammation continued to decline. The infection, once systemic and dangerous, was now localized and responding well to treatment. Every improvement was logged. Every improvement contradicted doctrine. The Coalition Council reconvened as the station rotated into its artificial night cycle. This time, the tone was different, less defensive, more deliberate. We must consider the broader implications, the Coalition speaker said. If this species has been misclassified, then others may have been as well. Korath inclined his head. Our reliance on fear-based deterrence may be structurally unsound. The words would have been unthinkable a cycle earlier. A vote was called, not on reclassification alone, but on policy. Human veterinary and medical consultants were added as mandatory participants in any future containment or first contact scenario involving biological entities deemed dangerous. Stress mitigation protocols were elevated to the same priority level as physical restraint. Continuous confinement, without recovery cycles, was formally prohibited. The measures passed narrowly. In the arena, Maya finally stood. Her legs protested as she straightened fully, stiffness radiating through her knees and back. She rolled her shoulders once, then walked slowly toward the creature's head. The predator's eye opened again, tracking her movement. I'm going to step out for a bit, she said quietly. Others will stay with you. The creature did not move. It did not resist. She paused, then reached out slowly, placing her hand against the armor near its jaw. She did not stroke. She did not pat. She simply rested her palm there for a moment. The predator exhaled, deep and calm. When Maya turned away, no alarms sounded. No weapons tracked her. The access gate opened smoothly, as if it had always been meant to. She emerged into the observation gallery to find the coalition speaker waiting. You have altered our understanding of strength, he said. Maya considered her response carefully. I didn't alter it, she said. I revealed a different application. He inclined his head in a formal gesture of respect, one reserved for equals rather than subordinates. Your species approaches danger through responsibility. We approach it through care, Maya replied. Responsibility follows naturally. The final reclassification order was signed before the station completed its rotation. The Araxian cleaver beast was removed from all weapons registries. Its designation was updated across coalition networks. Protected megafaunal species under medical oversight. Across dozens of systems, commanders read the update in disbelief. On the arena floor, the Predator slept. Maya departed the station several hours later, exhaustion finally catching up to her as she settled into the transport seat. A final update scrolled across her display before she powered it down. Vital stable, infection receding, prognosis guarded but hopeful. She closed her eyes, a small smile tugging at her lips. The coalition had brought their best